All right, continuing with my narration of B2, the keep on the Borderlands. I'm going to do Cave B today, which is on page 15 of the module. I won't be showing the module this time. Instead, I'm going to just call up the caves so you can see the layer of both caves B and C. I'm only going to be reading from B today. But real quickly, before I begin this, I wanted to talk about the party being turned into a bunch of murder hobos. It seems to me that when a party kills monsters purely for experience, that one, doesn't make any sense, and two, takes away from all the various options in the game where they would, if it wasn't for experience, they might entertain the other options. So I would say if you attack monsters and kill them only because you're going to get experience for doing it, you get 0. You only get experience if monsters attack you and you're defending yourself, or you need to kill them for some reason. Otherwise, you can surrender, you can flee. If they surrender, you can negotiate. When you surrender, you can negotiate, or you can simply not attack. And by not attacking, as opposed to attacking someone that you don't need to attack, you will get a small amount of experience for doing the right thing, or not necessarily doing the right thing, but not doing let's just go kill them for experience points. Better to give them a little tiny bit for doing nothing rather than, say, giving them full experience for killing them when there's no reason necessarily to kill them. This way, they have to have a justified reason, and I think it would make the game better. I just wanted to mention that. It's just something I've been thinking about. All right, I'm going to call up the caves, and we'll change our background music, even though I kind of like this, but then we'll continue with the reading. Okay, there is the map of caves B and C. We'll only be doing B today, which is rooms 7 through 12, as I bring up our background music to make it more enjoyable to listen to. I like this Fairylands, it's called. It's a nice picture too. I'll include a link in the description to both of the other videos. I'll try to put a link to the description to these Caves of Chaos for those of you who don't have them. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to read one room and then read you what I added, the little details that I added, combat strategies, the mundane items that I basically fleshed out the room, where Gary purposely left a lot of it with very little detail. All right, Orc Lair. Upon entering, the party will see that the wall 30 feet to the north is decorated with heads and skulls, human, elven, dwarven, in various stages of decay. These cheerful greetings are placed in niches which checker about 100 square feet of the surface of the wall. Close inspection will show that one is Orcish. See G below, and you can see area G on the map above the B. Sounds of activity can be heard from the west, but all is quiet to the east. Now, I'm not sure why he says that, since to the east is a room that's only 20 feet away with 4 orcs, but he says all is quiet, and the activity to the west is all the way over in area 10. So I think he made changes here and forgot to fix what he wrote, but who knows. All right, let me just quickly read what I put here. First off, I made these tribes. One is called the blue tribe and one is called the red tribe. And each orc has an armband of the appropriate color on their arm, so that there's no confusion as to which tribe do you belong to, if there's any, it makes it, I think, kind of more interesting this way. And what I wrote is this: the blue and red orc tribes don't get along very well. The temple has ordered them to get along, but they're having a hard time getting along. Both tribes want to be the head tribe, so tensions tend to run high. The party might be able to use this to their advantage to to try to get them to fight each other. Okay, so that's the entrance. Let me also go over this. Because the original game had, well, in first edition too, you could have 1 or 2 hit points or even 3, and I have everybody with a minimum of 4 hit points, and then certain classes higher. I also had to do the same for orcs, goblins, and the such. No orc or goblin is going to have 1 or 2 or even 3 hit points. Kobolds have 3, maybe 3 to 4, or even 3 to 5. As I've already read in the Kobold module. So what I've done with my orcs is the orcs have, on average, your average orc has 7 to 8 hit points. It doesn't mean there couldn't be weaker ones with 6 or 5, but this would be your average orc. Where with Gary, the orcs have 4 hit points, and the ones in rooms 7 and 8 have 5 hit points. So that's all he's doing for that, which is fine. But obviously these will be a little tougher. So my orcs are the orcs in first edition. I think were worth 10 plus 1 per hit point. I could be wrong on that, but it was around there. Mine are worth 40 points with 7 to 8 hit points. Their weapon damage, maybe that's a little high. Maybe I should lower it to 30. The weapon damage, the weapon they use are considered crappy, poor quality weapons. And I show that by simply making them do -1 damage. So instead of a longsword 1 to 8, it's 1 to 8 -1, etc. And that also makes them worthless if the party thinks they can take all these weapons and try to sell them and get something for them. They won't get anything for them. Maybe a copper piece, but not even. There's no point. The stats for my orcs are they have a strength of 12, dex and con of 11, intelligence and wisdom of 6, and a charisma of 4. So they're dumb, but they can talk, and they certainly know how to fight, and they have combat strategy despite their low intelligence. Female orcs, my female orcs, average 4 to 5 hit points. They attack at -1 penalty. They are worth 20 experience points. And they usually will only use a dagger. They can use a short sword, possibly. They certainly can. Again, though, it's D4 -1. Their stats, their average height is 5'8", where the average height of an orc is 6 feet. So female orcs are about 5'8". Their stats are strength 9, dex and con 10, and the mental stats are all the same, 6, 6, 4. Okay, treasure carried. Now I put all this at the top, not in each room, so the treasure is always the same unless I specify otherwise. And their stats are all the same, so there's no reason to list them other than the numbers that are in each room. To me, it's cleaner this way. Male orcs, for me, carry D12 -3 copper pieces. Remember, I use a silver standard, so that's like silver in a normal D&D game. Females carry D8 -4. The reason for the minuses is so that some of them have 0. It's that simple. They shouldn't all necessarily have coins on them. So this fixes that problem, I think. Okay. The cave entrance, what I did was I said how many heads there are. I went with 18. That's quite a bit. I maybe should have knocked it down to 14 or 12 or something. And I also said there are 10 human, 3 dwarves, 2 elves, 1 halfling, 1 goblin, and the orc head. One of them is an orc, but that's the guy that we're going to read now. Okay, so Area G. This narrowing area is a guard post. The Watcher, orc, dex 10, AC 7, hit die 1, hit points 5, number of attacks 1, 1 to 6 damage with a sword. Doesn't say if it's a short sword or long sword, it just says 1 to 6 damage, so I'm going to assume short sword. Having a small window-like opening from which he can observe the entrance to the lair. A piece of gray canvas behind gives the impression that the guard's head is another of the ghastly trophies which decorate the wall. If adventurers enter, he will quickly duck down, slipping a goblin head into the place his own was, and alert the orcs at 7. Except he can't alert the orcs at 7. How could he possibly do that? He can alert the orcs at 8, and they will come around, which he talks about, and I also talk about too. So, where did I go here? Okay. They will circle around the 4 orcs in area 8. There's 4 and 7. There's 4 and 8, and they will come around over towards room 9. But there's those 2 passages you can see here and here, and some will come down this passage and some will come down this passage. I'm just losing my place here. I'm looking at what I've written here now. Okay, let me read. Yeah, there's really no other changes that I made other than that. Okay, area 7, the guard room. Sorry, I'm stumbling and bumbling around here. 4 orcs, same stats. These guards are armed with spears. Each carries 1 for hurling and 1 to melee with. They have D8 electrum pieces each. I found that odd, as no one in this place has electrum coins but these 4 orcs. That seemed odd to me. I would have gone with silver, and for me, of course, that would be copper. When alerted, they will rush to engage intruders, raising a hue and cry when they see them. There is nothing of value in their chamber, there being only pallets and shabby clothing hanging on pegs. So I added a little bit to that to make it a little more interesting. 7B. First off, I gave them each D4 minus 1 silver pieces in addition to their copper. So the copper listed above applies to all orcs unless otherwise stated. Room description, based on what Gary said, it's pretty much the same thing, except I put a crude table with 4 chairs in the center of the room. I could alternately put it in the southwest or southeast corner instead of the center. Might make more sense, especially if people come in and a fight breaks out. But putting a table there might be interesting too. On the table are 4 battered mugs. They hold ale. It tastes bad, but the orcs love it. And pieces of salted meat and vegetables on crude plates. Just simple little details like this, I think, are really nice. There are 4 pallets, beds on the floor, east and south wall, and then the hanging on the pegs, the shabby-looking clothing. Okay, also, combat strategy. They have their 2 spears. These guards are not guarding, so a quiet party can easily surprise them. But if they are alerted, so if they're not quiet, they'll be alerted, they won't be surprised, and they will throw a spear and then move to engage the enemy in melee. They fight unless badly wounded, in which case they try to flee or cower in the back of their room if they can't, begging for mercy. If the party shows them mercy, they are most grateful, but flee or attack at the first opportunity. So that's the changes I made. Let's go on to area 8. It says the Watcher G will alert the 4 guards here, exactly as in 7 above, but see, he can't get to 7, so that's odd. Who will rush west and then south to flank or surround intruders. I said they'll go both ways. They'll go to both passages. Threatening or surround intruders threatening area 7 or 9 or approaching their own quarters. Okay, so in 8, I also gave them, because these are like these guys have 1 more hit point than the other ones, so these guys have D4 minus 1 silver too. But their coins are all on a table as they're gambling. Just another thing I did with their coins. So their copper and silver are all on the table. Room description, same as 7B, except there are cards on the table, along with their coins in 4 different piles, obviously, because there's 4 orcs gambling. The cards are filthy and somewhat worn, but are still somehow in playable condition. And then I list which orc has how many copper and how many silver. Simple. Combat strategy. If not alerted, of course they're going to be alerted they should be alerted by the guard. I don't see why they wouldn't be. If not alerted, they will be sleeping and are easy targets. If alerted, refer to the intro above. So nothing else there. Now we go to room 9. There are no orcs in here, but there easily can be. Banquet area. There is a great fireplace on the south wall and many tables and benches in this 30 by 50 foot chamber. The table at the north end having a large chair at its head where the orc leader usually holds court. The place is empty of orcs, although there is a small fire of charcoal burning in the fireplace, which shows you that there's been current activity, but that's kind of obvious anyway. So with Area 9, I mentioned all those things. And I don't think I said anything else in the room description. That's pretty much the same. But combat strategy. If a battle breaks out at the entrance, actually, let me read the DM note at the end here, and then I'll read this. The DM note at the end of this cave, after reading Area 12, says orc losses cannot be replaced, but after an initial attack by adventurers, the males at location 10 will move 4 of their number into Area 9. Arm these orcs with light crossbows and lay an ambush for intruders. If the leader is slain, all surviving orcs from this locale will seek refuge under the tribe at Cave C, taking everything of value and even of no value with them, and Cave B will thereafter be deserted. Now, he says, after the initial attack by adventurers, to which I say, why wouldn't they do it right now? If the party comes in and gets in a skirmish with orcs, why wouldn't the orcs in Area 10 hear that and start this ambush right now? It seems to me that they would. The other interesting thing about this cave, so that's already 9 orcs between 7, 8, and the one guy. So we have 9 male orcs here. There are 12 male orcs. Let me double check that. Yeah, there's 12 male orcs here. There's 18 females, but none of them have weapons, and there's 9 young. So you're talking 21 orcs that could all get into a battle, especially in this big area here. But if the party's here, you could have got orcs here. You could have orcs here, also coming around here, and all these guys coming over here. I don't see how a party survives that, unless the party is maybe second level at this point, which they wouldn't be if they started at 0 hit point. The odds are they will not be anywhere near second level yet, unless you've done stuff to get them there, or it's a very large party and or they have really high stats and really high hit points, because without that, I don't see how you can survive a battle of 21 orcs. I really don't, unless you're very powerful. I would cut the orcs down to 3 and 3 here, maybe even only just 2 here, and cut these orcs over here in half the number. Unless you think the party can handle it, I would not put this many orcs up against them. Orcs are not pushovers like goblins and kobolds, and even those aren't necessarily pushovers if played smart. Now, you don't want to play them too smart. Their intelligence is 6, or maybe you want to raise it to 7. But these creatures know how to fight, and 21 orcs should usually win against a party of 6 to 9 adventurers, and 9's a pretty big number. Imagine if you only had 4. Granted, you're going to have henchmen and NPCs you can add, but this is a lot of orcs, and this seems to be very, very dangerous. The whole module is dangerous when you really look at the numbers here. All right, so with that, I said in Area 9, combat strategy. If a battle breaks out at the entrance, it's possible that 4 of the male orcs at Area 10B will move here and hide behind the western tables. Whether you want to give them bows or not, they can just use their spears, which they will hurl before engaging in melee with their short swords. Not sure why they have short swords. I would think they'd have long swords, but okay. If one falls, they will flee into their chamber, while the other orcs will circle around in an attempt to surround the party. So if they flee in here and the party chases them, other orcs can come out here and surround them. They're dumb, but they're not that dumb. They know how to do that. They know how to surround enemies. So that is a simple strategy, or they're going to use the table as cover. They're going to get behind tables here, which I've determined would give them about 40% cover, which will make them hard to hit. and they're going to fire. Maybe they've got crossbows or light crossbows, or just throw spears or daggers or whatever, and that's going to be a big problem for a small party. Okay, we are now reading area 10, which is up here, and this is a common storage room, very similar to the kobold room. It says the door is locked. I'm assuming that's because the chief, the kobold leader, the orc leader, does that because he doesn't want them going in there without his permission. That's all I can figure, because why have it locked? It's just a storage room. However, amidst the stacks and heaps of supplies are goods here, like Area 3 above, the kobold room. In addition to that, there are 3 shields, 17 spears, and 2 axes in excellent condition, and he says in parentheses, by some quirk of fate. So these are items you could maybe sell to get some amount of money, but they would still be considered used. But you could utilize charisma here. If they want to take these weapons back to town and try to sell them, perhaps they could get anywhere from 40 to 60% based on their ability to negotiate, which is all charisma, or maybe it's only 20 to 30% because you don't think they're worth much. But then again, spears aren't worth anything anyway, really. But it's just an idea. You could put more weapons in here. Because clearly these weapons are of excellent quality, whereas the orc weapons are of crappy, poor quality. Hence the reduction in damage that I use. Okay, a small crate in the far northeast corner contains a long-forgotten light crossbow and 60 bolts. That's a nice little nifty piece of treasure to add. It's nothing too much. It's not, it's not excessive. There is nothing else of value in the place. I don't think I added anything. Actually, I did add something else that I forgot to read in area 10. Oh, I didn't even read area 10. That's why. I skipped right over it. All right, let me go to 11. I don't think I added anything. Oh, yeah, I did. I'm just all over the place here, guys. Sorry about that. I said the orc chieftain has the key. I'm pointing that out here as well as in the room. The room description, I'm going to give more detail to the stuff in here. This room is filled with supplies, sacks, boxes, barrels, and crates that are spread throughout this place in no particular order. 11 sacks, 3 with vegetables, 3 with grain, 3 with bread, and 2 with cheese, substandard but edible quality. 9 boxes contain salted meat of average quality, and 8 barrels 5 contain water, 2 contain cheap wine, and 1 has 17 spears. Treasure. A casual search will easily reveal 2 battle axes and 3 shields laying amidst everything. A more thorough search will find a large crate in the far northeast corner. Inside are 2 long-forgotten light crossbows and 60 bolts and 1 longbow. So I added a little more treasure. And I put the battle axes and things just because I put the spears in a barrel and added 2 battle axes. They have a little bit of value too. So nothing much. But let's read from area 10 now, which is the common room. It says here's all it says. Here are quartered 12 male orcs, same stats, only 4 hit points, and 18 females and 9 young who do not fight. The males have 2d6 silver pieces. I think the electrum should have been silver from the ones before, or maybe it was in addition. I really don't know. 2d6 silver each. The others have nothing of worth. The few furnishings in the room are likewise of no value. Okay, I decided, for me, I was going to give 9 of the females daggers, which they would fight, and the others would all be non-combatants. But it's not like they couldn't pick up stuff and throw stuff. But here's what I say. There are 2 crude tables with benches in the center. This is my room description. In the center of this large chamber. On them are 20 crude battered plates, 2 pitchers, and 18 mugs, along with vegetables, bread, salted meat, and cheese. 1 pitcher contains water. The other contains vinegary wine. They've got a storage room with all of this stuff, so they should have these stuff in their room eating. It would make sense. The entire northern section is filled with pallets, beds, A search will reveal a few dead rats, some cards, dice, a few copper pieces, some more plates and mugs and food scraps, vegetables, meat, cheese, bread. The whole place is littered with garbage and is a filthy mess. A thorough search will net the party 13 copper pieces, so nothing much. But then I add combat strategy. If the party enters through the north entrance, so you've got your north entrance and your south entrance, some orcs will circle around the south entrance and vice versa. The orcs are hoping to ambush the party, which was Gary's DM note at the bottom of this description. If they fail to do so, they will make a lot of noise, including clanging their weapons together, in an attempt to get the party to flee. If the party flees, they will most likely not pursue, except to hurl their spears. If the party enters the chamber, the females and young will scream. The 9 non-combatant females and young will cower in the northwest corner, while the 9 females with daggers will either move in front of them or help the male orcs in melee, but will keep screaming regardless, which of course will make it hard for the party to communicate, let alone just make it more chaotic. If the battle turns against them, all the orcs will drop their weapons, drop to their knees, and scream at the party, begging them for mercy. They're not going to fight to the death. Why would they? They can run or they can surrender, one or the other. They will claim all they want. And now I'm assuming here that in this case that these orcs speak the common tongue. You could say that if you say they only speak Orcish, if at least one party member understands, then you've got communication that way. But part of this won't make sense if you do it that way. But either way is it's totally up to the dungeon master. They drop their weapons, drop to their knees, and scream at the party, begging for mercy. They will claim all they want is to be allowed to live in peace in these caves and promise to never leave this valley or attack people. If asked where their leader is, they offer to take the party to him and promise to help kill him. Remember, they don't want to get killed. They're lying, obviously, and I'm sure the party won't believe them, but maybe make it convincing. If they'll promise to help kill their chieftain if they will then be allowed to live here in peace. If the party agrees, they will do this, while telling the females in Orcish to leave the caves and go to the other tribe, and they will come for them later. If the party asks them what they said to the females, they say they told them to stay here and wait for them to return. So here again you've got line, but this is only if the party and the orcs if the orcs can speak the common tongue, then and nobody speaks Orcish. Otherwise that scenario is not going to work. Okay. They then take the party to the orc chieftain. So it looks like they were being honest, but turn on them the moment a battle breaks out. But if the party kills the chief, they once again drop to their knees, begging even harder this time for mercy, claiming that they had no choice but to fight for their chief, because if he won, he would have killed them all. Whereas if the party won, they knew that the party still might show them mercy. If the party spares their lives, they will go to Cave C and inform the orcs there of what happened and join them in a determined effort to slay the party for their invasion into their home. So this adds a little more drama. This is also giving them options. They're like I say, they're not going to fight to the death unless they have no choice. If they're either going to flee or they're going to do something like that, beg for mercy and lie through their teeth. Maybe the party will fall for it. Who knows? You don't need to make a check to see if they fall for it. Let the party members each decide if they fall for it. For those of you who think D&D is just rolling a die all the time. It's not. It's role-playing. Okay, I decided to name all the chieftains in here, and I think I mentioned that in the Kobold Cave, Gerlach. This is Bornuk. He is a level 3 monster with 18 hit points. Oh, let me read the orc place first, the orc leader's room first. This is room 12, and as you can see, the secret door goes into, this is caves. This is part of Cave C, and then we have a treasure area here behind this curtain. All right, this large creature is clad in chainmail, has a +1 magic shield. I'm curious where he got a magic shield, but I guess we can say he killed an adventuring party or people on the road, and he now has a magic shield. Maybe. It seems like that's a lot, but okay. And he carries a mace. He fights as a 3-hit die monster, has 12 hit points. I've increased that to 18. Either way is fine. Actually, I made this guy more powerful, and this is the more powerful chieftain over here. I forget what room he's in. I switched it. I don't know why I did that. Maybe it was just by accident. I really don't know. All right. He adds +2 to damage he causes when successfully striking an opponent, doing 3 to 8 points of damage. This is due to his strength and skill. He carries 31 gold pieces. That's a lot. In my game, that would be 31 silver. And wears a ring set with a gem. Total value 700 gold pieces. That seems a little excessive to me in treasure, especially when that means 700 experience points in first edition D&D. I do 1/3 experience for treasure, but that's just me. That's my rule. The room is carpeted, has tapestries upon the walls. In parentheses, note one of these covers the entrance to the small cave to the west, end parentheses, and battered but still serviceable furniture and a cot. His two mates sleep on cushions at the foot of his resting place. The 2 females in the place fight as males. They have 3 hit points each, and they each have 2d6 gold pieces on their person. The chests, it says on her person. The chests and other furniture have nothing of value. If hard pressed, the leader will wiggle behind the tapestries on the south wall. I find it cute that he used the word wiggle there, and attempt to work the catch on the secret door to the south and go to the rival tribe for help. But his very life must be in great peril before he will do so. That makes sense because these tribes are at odds with each other. In parentheses, adventurers can only spring this catch by rolling a 1 on a d6 twice in a row or having 2 characters do so simultaneously. I would say if you are playing a thief or a rogue, your chances would be better. That's just me. Area T. This alcove is used by the orc leader to store arms and treasure. Yet he put other arms in Area 11, go figure. There are 2 complete suits of chainmail here, man-sized and dwarf-sized, 4 swords, and a locked iron chest, which holds 205 copper, that's completely worthless in D&D, 386 silver, that's worth something, 81 gold, that's decent, and 13 platinum pieces, that's good. A small niche in the back wall with a boulder in front covering it hides a potion of healing and a scroll with a 6-die fireball spell on it. That's cool. That's fine. And then there's the DM note. So that's all there is. Let me read what I did for the leader. I lowered the value of the ring set with a gem to 200. And, of course, I also mentioned he has the key to the storage room, which I mentioned in the storage room. So it's written both places so you don't forget so I wouldn't forget. The 2 female orcs have 5 hit points. So I think I said female orcs normally have 4 to 5. They have 5. And they have a short sword, so they do d6 minus 1. They're 2 inches taller than the typical female orc, so they're 5'10". So they're worth 5 more experience points, 25. They each carry 2d6 plus 6 copper pieces and 2d4 minus 2 silver pieces. So not many silver pieces, but a decent amount of copper pieces. Room description. So he said the room is carpeted in tapestries. I added, they look nice, but upon closer inspection, the party will notice that they are torn in many places and even burned in parts, so they're barely worth anything due to all the damage. You don't have to say that. You could even make them worth a couple hundred if you want to. Totally up to you. In the middle of the room but he didn't say anything about them being any of value, nor did he say anything about them being not of any value. He said nothing about it. In the middle of the room is a battered table with 4 battered chairs. There is a huge cot in the southeast corner with pillows and pelts, and I talked about where the females sleep. Above the cot on the wall is an unlit torch. I just did that to be interesting. In the middle of the west wall is a shelf with a wooden chest below it. In the chest are several items of clothing and footwear, mostly dirty but wearable. On the shelf are the following. Another item I put in the room to add items. A skull, 10 candles, 2 candle holders, 4 battered mugs, a small cask of cheap wine that's worth 5 silver pieces, a half-eaten rat, 2 battered bowls, one with some salted meat and another with vegetables, and 3 torches with flint and steel, because you're going to replace those torches after time. Combat strategy. If he is disturbed, he yells out, "Who dares disturb Bornuk the Orc King?" If the party attacks, he fights, as do the females. If they try to talk, that is, if the party tries to talk, he will listen and will consider their offer, especially if he thinks he could die in battle. Bornuk desires the death of all humans, dwarves, etc., but will claim that he has no quarrel with people and wishes to just be left alone, and will even offer them treasure in exchange for his life, but only if he thinks he can't win. If this works, he will plot his revenge no matter what, as he wishes them all dead. And then I go into the whole thing about if he's in dire peril, he'll go through the secret door thing. And I made up my own little way of making it work, which is basically the same thing. The treasure room, I said the human side, the same armor, the same sword. I made one sword a broadsword instead of just, he said 4 swords. I said 3 long swords and 1 broadsword. A small iron chest, locked. Key is hidden in an alcove in back of this cave in a small niche. The chest contains 205 copper, 91 silver, and 14 gold. So it's different only because I use a different standard. The niche, the treasure there, it's covered by the boulder, just the same thing. The potion of healing, the same with the scroll. And then the only way you can get through the secret door, and I say rogues get 2 attempts, and they get a bonus to their attempt. And there's also intelligence modifiers that you can use as well. So the smarter you are, the more likely you are of figuring it out. And that's what I did with this, with Cave B. I think it's more interesting, not necessarily better, but this is one way you can flesh this place out and add some details. What did you do? I'm curious. Did you make any changes? Did you put in other monsters? I'm just curious what other people did. I'd love to talk D&D with anyone who'd like to chat D&D. We can talk about other modules too, not just B2 to keep on the Borderlands. However, I hope you enjoyed listening to this. Next one will be the Orcs of the Red Tribe, and we'll see what differences are there. Talk to you all later.